Hey guys, it's Seth again. I'm sitting in an online call with Peyoti for President. Hi, first of all.
Hey there, how you doing? Good to
Fine,
meet
and
you.
you?
Good. Super nice day here.
Yeah, it's the same here. It's sunny and weather shining. But you're in Portugal, so you have more sun normally than us in Germany, probably.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah,
One of the reasons I moved here, but yeah. Although we do have a lot of lovely German people here as well. So they often give me little updates on the terrible situation with the weather in Germany.
uh, but you originally from London, is it like this? And you have a multicultural background somehow.
Yeah, I was born in Cambridge, but my father is from the south of Italy. Um, I lived for many years in London before leaving London and moving to Portugal, but I still go back quite a bit. Yeah.
Great. And
My
we don't,
passport is English, so I'm kind of English, even though, yeah, my nationality is English. Yeah.
it's still, but maybe one day we'll get back the EU passport. You wanna try it?
Yeah, I want to try it. Yeah, let's do that.
Uh,
In fact, I'm trying to get a Portuguese passport at the moment, and that's going through. So I think I'll be back in the EU in a few months from now.
That would be great, yeah. I think the Brexit was for someone like you was a big problem. So as for most artists from England, from UK.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah, it was a bit of a nail in the coffin of the music industry in the UK. Another nail in the coffin, which is not a good thing, but still, what can you do?
We don't have a chance. We are too small for this. But I think this is a good thing to get to your music because your music is about problems in the world, I think. But before we start talking about the current album and stuff, maybe we can start at the beginning. So how did you get into music when you were young? What have been your first experiences as a young musician?
Wow, that's a big question. I started to get into music when I was like 6, 7 years old in a real kind of serious way, listening to music at home in my room. I think the first music I really got into was 1950s rhythm and blues in general. This is how I started. Uh, yeah, pretty much so. For many years, I was kind of heavily into rhythm and blues, but the early rhythm and blues, you know?
Mm.
And that's what started me to learn and pick up the guitar. And I started playing guitar. I was 9 years old. My uncle bought me a guitar for my birthday.
Cool. You still have that one?
No, unfortunately, I've got no idea where it is. Maybe it's not even alive anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's firewood. It's a shame, actually. I did have it up until about 10 years ago, and then a number of house moves, and I'm not too sure actually. And then, yeah, it's a long story. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And you have a long story as a musician and with your project Peyoti for President. So we can't tell the whole story, but maybe can you tell me, it's rather, I think, 16 or more years ago than that you founded the band. So how did this start, the Peyoti for President project?
Well, the concept started after actually doing a peyote ceremony in the south of England, just outside Brighton. Um, and just realizing that maybe music, like many people have realized, music can be used to bring people together. Um, maybe we could have a better world if we had peyote consciousness. So it was a cross between musically the way I was going, because I'd been visiting Cuba quite a bit, and also being disgusted with the politics of the world and having a realization that maybe things could be much better. The realization was an instant realization. It wasn't something that happened over years or months or weeks. It was over one night, actually, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
It was a direct result of this peyote trip ceremony that I had. And then a couple of weeks later, I met a guy outside King's Cross tube station. Turns out he was an immigrant. I didn't realize at the time. He was from Brazil. His father's a very famous guy. His father is a guy called Bezerra da Silva. And he was an extremely famous Brazilian artist.
Mhm.
And it started with him, and we just did a lot of gigs, and I was writing songs. We did a lot of gigs around London. So it started in small bars around London for a couple of years, and playing with different musicians. A guy from Jamaica as well. So for a while, I was playing with two black percussion players, me on guitar singing, and two black guys playing percussion. It was really quite tribal in those days.
Yeah, cool.
And then we got asked to play with Mano Chao as the support band in 2007, and that's how it started. And soon after that, we started recording songs professionally, releasing songs, and we got a booking agent in Germany, a booking agent in Poland, a booking agent in the UK, and then we were doing quite a lot of festival gigs. 2009. And we released the album in 2009 as well, the first album. That's a kind of very brief, a brief summary, Otti, of how it all came together in
Yeah.
the early days.
I
Yeah,
think if you would do the whole story, you could talk for hours, probably,
yeah,
because
you could.
I've,
Yeah,
I've done lots of things. But maybe you can have a glimpse on the first album. It was Rising Tide of Conformity.
that's right. Yeah,
Right? So, how did this
I have
develop?
it here actually,
Oh, cool.
and on the inside cover, you
Mhm.
can see. This was actually the poem that I wrote, although I'm sure it's back to front. But this was the poem that I wrote not long after the peyote experience I told you about, talking about a better world,
Mhm.
how how war could be confined to the vaults of history in the future. Anyway, so yeah, that's the first album.
Very good. And what was, when you look at this back, you have your new album now. What have been the differences? What have been the core moments on the last album, and how did it develop to this? What is new? Because you have had, sorry, lots of time in between.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, a good question. Wow. I mean, it's just as easy to say the similarities. The similarities, when I really look back at this and I read, there was also a pamphlet where we're talking about democracy, we're talking about politics, I was talking about peanuts, terrorism. I'm talking about terrorism here. There's a lot of similarities in terms of the politics, which I, I realize haven't really changed. I'm also talking about hallucinogenics here as well. Um, and why perhaps they're outlawed and et cetera, et cetera. The difference is, I guess, with this album, the biggest difference was this is the album that shouldn't really have been, shouldn't really have happened, shouldn't really have been. It was only because just around COVID, just after COVID, a friend of mine says, "Hey, let's go to Mexico and chill out in Mexico." And I was in Mexico, um, and you may want to edit this out. I don't know if you're going to edit this out or use this or not. I was in Mexico and I did a little LSD experience on a rock in uh, in Oaxaca, state of Oaxaca, on the coast there. And I had another kind of experience, but this time it was a download of bass lines and trumpet lines predominantly, and some words and some song titles. And luckily I had my phone with me, so I was there. I was kind of talking into my phone and recording all of these ideas as I got them in about 4 hours. So I wrote 40% of the album, I would say, in 3 or 4 hours during this time, apart from many of the lyrics, but some of the lyrics as well. So that was the big difference. The difference was this album was not really written on guitar. This album was written using a phone, and even afterwards, when I came back to Portugal, the album was written essentially using a phone and my mind. The song "Palestinian Children," for example, was written in an aeroplane coming back from England back to Portugal. I wrote the whole song in an aeroplane. So the big change is I don't seem to be writing songs so much in a traditional way with a guitar like I used to. I guess another big difference is this was this is a collaboration with a producer in Portugal. So I was not the only person, the only producer on this new album. There is a producer called Mark Manigman. He's a German guy, actually. He lives down here in the south of Portugal, and we collaborated on the production ideas, techniques, and that's the big difference. This was very much a collaboration with another producer. So those are the main differences, I would say.
Maybe to the people outside, we should mention the name of the new album. It's Your Comfort Zone. So,
Yeah.
and it will
In fact,
come out in a
pardon?
few weeks from now, but I don't know when I publish this video. So maybe it's out or it will come out soon.
It will be published on the 4th of July,
Yeah.
Independence Day in the States. And the full title was going to be Your Comfort Zone Will Kill You, which is the name of one of the songs on it. But we didn't want to, the people I'm working with for PR were saying, hey, maybe we should just tame it down a little bit and get rid of the word kill you. So we thought, okay, let's just call it Your Comfort Zone. But it's inferred in the title, you know?
Yeah, some are funny, but yeah, but I thought about this is a title song, so maybe you can tell me what was the background of this song, so that it became the title as well for the album.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the experience on the beach I told you in Mexico.
Mhm.
And I came off the beach, and as I walked, I was looking to get a drink, actually, a drink, a beer, and I found a wall full of graffiti. And as you can imagine, most of the graffiti was in Spanish because I'm in Mexico, but some of the graffiti was in English. And I speak Spanish as well, actually, so I was reading both. But one of the comments was, "Your comfort zone will kill you," and there was a picture there as well.
Mhm.
And it was almost like it was speaking to me, you know. Are you going to make a new album, or are you going to live in your comfort zone in Portugal, and or are you going to do something new,
Yeah.
something that you can do, something that you have song ideas and bass lines and trumpet lines that you can do. And I thought, wow, what a great name for an album. So this was about 3 years ago. So that's where the title came. The title came from graffiti. I can send you the picture because I took a picture of it actually, if
Do
you're
it.
interested.
Would be cool,
And
please.
so the idea was, yeah, okay, this is a great idea for a new album, and this is a great title for the new album, and this is a good title for a song.
Mhm.
So the song was born about a year and a half after that, albeit I already had an idea for the trumpet melody and to an extent the bass line. But and also especially with this song, thinking about it, yeah, this song was a rework of an old song that I wrote. I started to write maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
So I dug the song out the closet. I took a part of that song. Was it? Yeah, I think it was. Just a small part of that song, together with some new melodies, and made a new song out of it.
Okay. And maybe you can explain, your music is rather based on reggae, but you don't do classical reggae. You have so many influences in it. So, how or in which way did you leave your comfort zone on this new album? Which parts did you make that you had never thought of before?
Ah, yeah. Well, there's a song published already, which is a remix of a song it was our biggest song, arguably, back in the day, back in 2009, 2010, 2011, called No Me Siento Malo. And we did a remix which featured a charango from Colombia, and it also featured a piano. And it was that remix which inspired, thinking about it, inspired this new song, Your Comfort Zone Will Kill You. So the new part which we brought to this song was essentially the lyrics, the whole concept of lazing around comfortably, feeling that you're safeguarded when the world out there needs you to contribute and to make an effort. Um, yeah, that was the new idea. Um, Yeah, yeah. The lyrics came because I'm really encouraging people to get off their arse and do something, to stand by their beliefs, to act by their beliefs, especially now more than ever. As you know, politically, where I come from, I think now is the time where everybody has to stand up and say, hey, this isn't the direction I want the world and humanity to go in. Unless, of course, it is, in which case you're happy, don't do anything. But if you're a little bit concerned by the direction the world is going, then your comfort zone will kill you. You need to stand up and make your voice heard, you know? So really it's a call to action.
Mm, I see. So you think music can change something in the world somehow?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And I think this is another reason why the powers that be, the people that own arguably the major record labels, for example, this is why they don't particularly want to have strong messages in music. I saw an article a number of years ago saying, what happened to all the protest music? And the truth is that to an extent, protest music is suppressed. There's lots of people making it, but it's not encouraged. It's not encouraged like it used to be with Bob Dylan and et cetera, you know.
Mm.
Um, and I think there's a reason for that. They don't really want people to encourage the masses to feel anything in a real sense of the word, anything tangible. You know, they're happy to keep people in a, that's why they use sex a lot and meaningless lyrics. It's a
Mm.
distraction, you know. It never used to be like so much like that. There was always both in the 1960s, the 1970s. You had your mainstream popular music, which didn't necessarily say a great deal, but you also had messages in music. And there's many examples of that, you know.
Yes.
Bob Marley being an obvious one.
Bob
And
Marley, The
Bob Marley
Clash.
really had a massive effect, you know.
Mm.
And you've got imagery in music and imagery in other ways, like Che Guevara is not a musician, but what he stands for and his imagery is used again and again and again, and people can relate to that, you know.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. It's like Bob Marley or The Clash nowadays wouldn't get that big as they've gotten back then, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Yeah. And back to your music and the album. So there are several messages on it, like I think like peace, but also freedom. Freedom is a big topic because you have this freedom preacher on it. Maybe can
yeah,
you tell me why the spoken word part was so important to you?
yeah. And thank you for noticing that as well. Thank you. As you can tell, it's an introduction to the song Freedom. Broadly speaking, my personal beliefs are that our freedoms are being taken away from us, and this process was accelerated during COVID, um, and it became very clear that they this idea of there is one source of truth, you know. You heard Fauci say during the COVID thing, we own the science. If you want to know what the science is, you come and speak to us, which is ridiculous because science is all about sharing knowledge and sharing ideas, no? So for me, it was very important to say, hey, everybody's got a voice, not just in science, but, democracy, the cornerstone of democracy means that everybody relies upon everyone has a voice. A democratic votes. The whole voting system is based on a democratic idea. And so, if you take this away, then arguably we're not free. There's limited freedom. So that was the basis for the song, but it's sometimes difficult to put this across in lyrics in such a good way. And so to use
Mhm.
spoken word is another way of doing it. And um, and for me, it was easier to put these ideas across using spoken word in a kind of Tom Waits kind of voice,
Mhm.
um, than it would be necessarily using the lyrics of the song itself. So again, this was like a download. This whole piece of all of these words came to me one morning after a very smoky, interesting evening the night before. And yeah, it all came to me in the space of half an hour, probably less than half an hour. And the funny thing is the words to that piece were not recorded in the studio. I recorded them as they came to me using my phone, and I exported the file and imported the file into my recording software. And me and Mark, we later edited them and worked them in that way.
Totally interesting. This is a good thing about the new technology
Yeah,
somehow. It has its bad sides, like sometimes it takes our freedom, for example, but
yeah,
also good sides, so we can use it to get in contact, for example, with other people, or to, for example, totally instantly record things we think about.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And I
Yeah.
think it could be the world could be an amazing place if all of this technology was used in a way to harmonize humanity and to bring it together. And to an extent, it is, but it's also being used to divide us
Yeah.
simultaneously. No.
That's the problem. For example, artificial intelligence, I think if it would be used, for example, to reduce the world problems, for example, hunger or stuff like this, starvation, it would be great. And it has the chance. AI could, for example, see how to reduce climate change problems or hunger or stuff like this. But
Exactly. Yeah.
probably it will be used to get more control of us.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, time will tell with AI. It's still comparatively new, but yeah, let's see. Although I am very optimistic for the next few years. I think. Yeah, I think you can see with the situation in Palestine, for example, that with Gaza, that you can see that a lot of people have been coming together, have been rallying together, and that people realize that people movements are possible, and I think they're more essential than ever. So I'm still optimistic that we could have a major breakthrough, and that who knows? I think optimism is at the center of this album that I've made. Freedom, optimism, the potential for positive change is there.
Well, this is a revolutionary mind, always wants to have things better, and you have to believe that things can get better.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you can't fight.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Belief is at the center of it, and just believing that something better is around the corner, and bringing people together to talk, to communicate, to discuss ideas. I think bringing together people together is so important.
Yeah,
It should be a people's. It can only be a people's movement.
yeah, totally agree. And this, for example, is where music comes in, because music events like concerts or festivals are also places where people can come together, communicate, and
Yeah.
maybe start changing something.
I think that's a huge example there. Otti, what you use there is festivals. For me, were my early experiences of, really something special. Glastonbury, the first time I went to Glastonbury, I was 18, and kind of dancing around a fire at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bunch of people you've never met before. This shared sense of humanity that we all need the same things. We all have the same concerns. We all have the same needs. We all have the same fears. We're all looking for acceptance. We're all really very, very similar when it comes down to it.
Totally.
A festival is probably the best example.
Yeah. Totally, because people come at big festivals, they come from all over the world and celebrate together. And it's
Yeah.
music is a universal language. It
Yeah.
always will be. And
It's the great unifier. It always
again,
has been. I mean, whether you look at
yeah,
John Lennon or whether you look at Bob Marley or Bob Dylan, it's always been the great unifier. It transcends above languages. It transcends above cultures somehow. And it's to me, it's the closest thing to magic, you know? It's a kind of magic. We don't really understand. I play many gigs and I always look under the tables if people are sat down and I look for people's legs moving. And when you realize that, half the room, their legs are moving under the table, you realize, we're becoming connected. We're becoming connected. It's a kind of unifying magic that pulls people in. It's amazing. Yeah,
I think it goes back to the early times when people have been dancing around their fire, celebrating praying to their gods, for example, but it all connects and gives power, gives strength. Yeah.
Completely, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
totally agree.
so we can come to, are you going to play the new album, for example, in Germany, especially? Are there some shows announced already?
I have a couple of gigs in I think one or two at the end of May, and also the 4th and 5th of June. I can let you know what the details of those. Actually, I can write and send them to you. Two of them are Palestine events. Um, I'm in the process of putting together a bigger band that can perform this music, because this music is not so easily performed in a traditional sense of drums, bass, keyboard, guitar. It's far more complicated to perform it well as it is on the album.
Mhm.
It's going to take a bit more thought than that, you know. And we started that process. Um, we're looking for a German booking agent, for example, in Germany for the gas territories. We're looking for booking agents in the UK as well, actually. So at the moment, as I speak to you today, we could not perform this album. I don't have the ability to perform it, albeit perform songs from the last album, yeah. But this is something we're working on at the moment. So unfortunately, we're kind of a little bit behind where we'd like to be, where I would like to be. But you can only do so much, you know.
Uh,
Um, yeah, and I think we've kind of missed to a large extent the festival season, of course. But hopefully, we're going to be bang on it for the festival season in 2026.
yeah, I think so. The problem is with the festivals, it's 1 or 2 years in the future you have to be booked in nowadays because there are so many bands getting there and getting booked and stuff. It's really
Yeah,
difficult to get in rather quickly. But
yeah,
maybe this video helps because I know some promoters and bookers are watching my channel. So if someone outside thinks this is cool, Peyoti for President, contact him.
oh, excellent. Yeah, cool. And like, please do that. We have a track record. I mean, we used to play big festivals. We played main stages. I think the biggest audience was about 200,000 in Woodstock in Poland. It was the only time we ever had a police escort to a gig because we couldn't get there on time because of the crowds, and it was a lot of fun. And we've done it once, we can do it again.
Yeah, probably. So something like bicycling. Uh, you never, I don't know the expression. In Germany, you would say, du verlernst niemals.
Okay.
You always are capable of bicycling once you have learned it.
Ah, right. Yeah, yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, and I think for me, the most important thing is the music. You know, I think you have to start with good songs, you know, and you can't do both simultaneously. So for me, that was why it was so important to really write the songs. Because once you have the songs, you can find a way to perform them live. But if you're performing live and you haven't really got songs or ideas or messages, especially in this project, Peyoti for President, then you have a lack of identity.
See what you mean. And I think the identity of the album is cool. I can say it. It is a really cool and wide range and also some really, really deep moments. I love
Ah,
it.
thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
I know your influence, for example, you mentioned Bob Marley, Bob Dylan, but also David Bowie, I think somehow was some of your heroes. Is it like this? Because you had some tribute EP some years ago.
Yeah, I did this during lockdown, you know, during the crazy lockdown time. And yeah, for a very special person who asked me to record the song Kooks, actually.
Mhm.
And I did it for her. And and then another friend of mine said, "Hey, just make some more songs? Why not? Have some fun." So I did. So David Bowie, one of my all-time favorite albums is an album called Hunky Dory from 1971 by David Bowie. And I was massively influenced by his songwriting. Yeah.
And
Uh,
this, I would love to ask if you would meet David Bowie somehow. He's dead, but if he came to you as a ghost or something, what would you ask?
What would I ask him?
Yeah.
Well, one question he actually answered on an interview when he was talking about as a writer and as an artist about what kind of music to produce, what should your output be like, what should your art be like, and he was saying if you're too comfortable, then you'll never produce at your best. You should always feel uncomfortable to a point whereby you don't know what the response is going to be to your new music. You know, you feel unsure, you feel nervous. You don't just copy. And that was again, I saw this interview a number of years ago, and this is another reason why I made this album. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make what I want to make. I don't give a damn what critics may say, you know. And it did make me feel uncomfortable to an extent. So that would be one thing, but I know what he would say to that. Another thing, I don't know what I would ask is, I mean, as you know, Bowie in the early days was big into costumes and how it looked on stage, and he had this half male, half female appearance on stage. Is how to put it across on stage, how to reinvent yourself. How important is it to reinvent yourself, not only musically, but in every other way as well, artistically. It's not just about the music. Because I'm in that stage now, you know. I'm thinking, how should the live show look like, you know? Who should be in the band, etc. You know, how much of it should feature me? How much of it should be video projections on the back of the stage? I think I would ask him, can I reinvent Peyote for president, you know, in a way that is different from how it used to be?
And I think his answer would be really, really interesting because he was a great mind, a big mind. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Great. And we'll miss him. And I think we come to an end now because we can talk again when your next album comes or when we, for example, meet when you come to Germany,
cool, great.
probably one day, and then we can have another talk. For today, my last question has to be, so if you would get president, what would be the first thing you would change?
If I was president,
Yeah.
I think I would make it so that everybody worldwide who has access to a computer has a personal identity number, and everybody can vote on issues concerning the world. So where it's a world issue, where politics has to be involved in one way or another, everybody could be number one for maybe like a few weeks before, educated, and then on a certain day or a certain week, everyone could give their answer or their opinion. So we have the means now for everyone to have an input on where we take humanity. There's no excuse now, you know. Everyone can have their say. So that's what I would do. I would make it so that everybody had their own personal identification number, and on every world issue which affects us as a race, humanity, everyone can vote, and we have real democracy. You know, not just a pretend farcical joke of democracy like we get in the countries these days. Do you want Trump or do you want Biden? You know, what a there's no choice there at all. So that's what I would do. I would completely reinvent a global voting system.
That's cool. That's a good idea. Great. So I think
Someone's going to try.
this was a cool talk. Thanks for this.
Thanks, Oti. I appreciate it. Yeah.
People outside, thanks for watching. Peyoti for President. Album is coming. Say it again. When?
The album will be out on the 4th of July. And before then, we have another 4 singles. The last single came out a few days ago on Portuguese Revolution Day on the 25th of April. We have another 4 singles coming out every 2 weeks. And then the album comes out on the 4th of July. And thank you for all your support. And please subscribe, follow us on Spotify and YouTube and all the rest of them. And yeah.
Great. Thank you. And I would say, bye, people. Cheers. See ya.
Cheers.